Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Angry Cast and Fallout Shelter 2022. How y'all doing? We're doing just fine. We are still doing what we're doing, but I've decided to take a little break from going on quests to do some vault renovation and maintenance. So I'm going to talk while we're doing it, and I can't exactly tell you at the second that I'm doing it what I am going to be doing, but I'm going to lay it all out on what my hopes and my dreams are for this particular episode, and we're going to do a little bit talking about video games because that's what we do. So as you can see, probably in the vault, I've got two dwellers at the front door, guarding it with some pretty decent weapons, but they are not at level 50. And before I let those other ones inside the vault, I want some level 50 players or dwellers at the door guarding everything. And I'm also going to probably up the vault door strength to its maximum, upgrade that, because we're going to be getting into some death claws after I let those people in, and they're going to go through the training. And as you can see, I only got like 2 or 3 more training people going through, so now we can decide to say that we are now at a point where we're going to just be bringing in people slowly and pushing them through training, but we're going to expand the training centers to be the full complement of what they should be. And that will make things go a lot faster, because once you've upgraded them, they will train faster, and that, of course, brings more power consumption, and also it means that we will have bigger, badder incidents that could occur in them when they happen, like rat scorpions and mole rats and rad roaches and fires. Everything will be a lot more bigger. Now, also, because our last last quest, I think it was the synth one, we have a Mr. Handy. Sorry, I'm driving along. There's a guy in a ghillie suit, and they're selling subs. It's like 80 degrees outside. He's wearing a ghillie suit on the side of the road. It's a kid. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So no, our last quest, we got a Mr. Handy for completing it with, I think it was the synth, or the Bugle Boy one. It was a Bugle Boy, I think, one. We have now a Mr. Handy. I'm going to put him on the top floor as well to help keep anything that's up there, up top, so that when something comes through the front door, I don't have to keep sliding people and hoping I make it in time. There will be somebody there all the time, because Mr. Handy will take care of it while I, get the dwellers into that room to help fight. So that's going to help us out as well. Now, while I'm saying that is I'm going to send these 2 dwellers out into the wasteland to level up from like the 28 or 29 level that they are, to get them up to 50. Because I'm no longer doing some quests, I can put my 50s, which is Harkness and this Jacob guy, I believe, and an old Longfellow. I could put them in the front door to guard everything and keep them, everything safe and sound up there. And I can use the other 2 to start working on some fabrication of some stuff. Now, I want to wait until I get 55. It's 75. I'm sorry. I have to get 75 dwellers in the vault to unlock the legendary crafting for weapons and the outfits, which means I want to get like we were talking about before in a previous episode. Somebody told me that the 7+ advanced jumpsuit or whatever it is, the handyman suit, the red one that's used for the cafeterias, that's the legendary version of that is the best thing to have for your dwellers to go out on quests. And also Vengeance, which is the machine, like the legendary Gatling gun. So we're going to want to get those one, crafted up for our peeps. We're going to start doing that. Now, before, I had been doing mostly the power, like the Mark 6 power armors and Dragon's Maws. But somebody said that when you're on quests and doing it there, that one weird quest where I kept hitting a Alpha Deathclaw and it killing me instantly, that it was because I didn't have the right outfit on, and the Vengeance would help me go faster. Like, granted, I get the first shot on the Deathclaw with Vengeance, or with the Dragon's Maw, but you only get like 3 shots, and then he attacks you. But with Vengeance, there's a little bit more. Now, even though there might not be a difference that much in the rating on the weapon, on its power, I think it's the combination of using that suit, the agility suit, and the actual type of weapon, not an energy weapon, but a big guns weapon that can help you slice him down even faster. So I definitely want to take that into account. I'm going to try it on my other vault that I have everybody already done so that I can test that theory out. But here, we're going to get it to there from here on this other vault. So with that, while I do all this, manual renovation to the vault, like we're going to take out the second level of training rooms and put our 3 block wide training rooms just right to left, SPE on the top, CIA on the next one, and then 2 L's on the bottom, so that we can not have a bottleneck. We're also going to expand. You can see I've already done it. We've expanded the water room on the second floor to now be a 3 block wide with people in it, and I've also expanded, I think, the med bay where the stim packs are created out to be a 3 block wide. If I could, I didn't think that was possible on that second level, but apparently it is. It looks like it's going into rock, but it's not. And then also I want to do the same with the rataways, and I also want to start looking at the other ones. Now again, I've got only 3 power rooms at this point. Maybe 4, I think, and because I'm thinking about it in my brain while I'm driving. But there's not a lot of power to go around for all these floors I'm going to be upgrading, so I'm going to have to start thinking about more power floors. And that comes into effect when we start to unlock the other rooms, and the nuclear power plant gets unlocked. We can start to replace our power rooms with the nuclear power plants, which will give us the best bang for our buck when it comes to producing power in our vault. So that is another goal I want to have, is to unlock the rest of those rooms. We could also do some more stuff like training like that. We can do the crafting rooms. We can do some themes. We can also do other stuff like that. But if you're wondering, why am I doing all this? It seems like a hell of a lot of renovation to do in one go. Look at our caps. We've got at least 999,999 caps. A little bit more if we've opened up some lunchboxes, which I don't know that we have yet because we've been running low on lunchboxes. I am in no fear of running out of caps anytime soon. Crafting, renovating, upgrading, demolishing, reorganizing, doing all that, it does not matter. We are not in a place where caps matter anymore, because we can always go on quests. We can get like 5,000 to 10,000 per quest. My rooms are stocked with the best people and at the in the right size of the room, so I'm getting a bonus every time I do that. And with the Mr. Handies collecting those resources, that's automatic turnover of resource collection, which means also cap collection. And I can sell. I have so much junk and stuff to sell. I can sell those as well. It's not a game about cap management anymore. It's now a game about resources, inventory, and disaster management. That's where we're going to be at, because we're opening up that next phase, which is to allow death claws to come running into the building, and our bigger, badder incidents to run into the building. So these are the types of things that we are now starting to focus on, and we talked about this before. It was building up the vault, it was getting our peeps to where they needed to be, and then it was like blowing open the doors and saying, here we are, come get us. We're now in phase 3 at this point. And that also means, unfortunately, that once we get through this phase, we're pretty much done. Because we're going to expand the vaults to the point where we have 200 dwellers. We're going to have them all be trained up. It's to the point now where it's just, rinse, wash, repeat, or wash, rinse, and repeat. We don't have a lot of new things to do, and that means that we're going to be bringing the series to an end. I know that sounds like a horrible thing. I know you guys are loving it, but remember, I told you before during the glitch episode that we can start to think about other things to do now that we have this time glitch, and to just play around. I would love to see what happens if we just decide to eject everybody out of the vault, and I will do that by saving my vault and putting it into a save file on a different folder from where it sits now, and allowing it to exist, and we can just reload. We'll have 200 vault dwellers. We'll have everybody. We can do anything we want, and not worry about the consequences, because we are going to be at a point where we can just reload the vault if we need to. So we can do that. We can also do the idea of saying, okay, let's just take us down to maybe 2 or 3 dwellers, and let's see what happens if we let a full scale fire or something rip through the entire vault, and what's going to happen there. That's, those are the types of things I would like to do. But you got to tell me. You got to tell me in the comments if that's what you want to see happen. And because like I said, this is a series that's based on interest. If we don't have the interest, I'm not going to do it. The free time I have is limited. So that kind of thing. But let's move on. So while I'm still working on that, let's do a little trip down memory lane. I've been playing video games for a lot of my life. I started out as a wee lad in the late 70s, early 80s. Had a Pong clone console. And then my parents bought an Atari, which wasn't even really an Atari. It was the Sears, knockoff Atari, which was basically the same thing, was branded for Sears. And instead of coming with like Combat or something like that, it came with that Land Sea Air Battle, game. But I tend to think that I was probably born too soon. I'm 47, and I was born in 75. I feel like I should have been born maybe 6 or 7 years later. But I don't knock the fact that I'm a Gen Xer. I don't knock the fact that I was born in the late 70s and grew up in the 80s, because I did get to see the fun stuff, but I don't get to have it like I didn't hit the groove of playing games like Grand Theft Auto or Skyrim or stuff like that until I was in my late 30s, early 40s. Whereas a lot of my friends were like in their early 20s, so they had the ability to just like sit at home and play video games at great length instead of being at work and making a living. Also, the fact of being the golden age of YouTube, I started in my late 30s instead of in my 20s or early 30s, where I could have made a huger impact and been more up on things and been better at it. So there's that, but. The idea that, I love the fact that I grew up when I did, because I had such a great experience with video games. Going to the arcade, putting quarters into Double Dragon, putting the quarters into Pac-Man and Galaga, my favorite of all time. Putting, money into games like, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat at such a young age. Watching that progression of video games go from the late 70s, where it was like Space Invaders and Asteroids, through to like the Nintendo years with Super Mario Brothers, to games like games like Dragon's Lair that really changed the genre of what a video game could be. And to see go through Rampage and Double Dragon and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Rolling Thunder and Operation Wolf and the Star Wars trilogy. And the games that we have now, like you go to like a Dave and Buster's and it's not even a quarter anymore. It's like $1.50, and you don't even know how much you're paying for it anymore. It just the House of the Dead games and the Time Crisis and all those things. And I don't even know what you would even find in an arcade anymore. What's a brand new game in an arcade? Is that even still a thing? Are arcades? Yeah, maybe something like maybe in Japan, maybe in another country they might be. I don't think they are so much in in the area. And I remember growing up, and there was an old car wash or something nearby that got shut down, and somebody bought it and turned it into like a mini arcade. There was like 4 games in there. Like I would could play Crazy Climber or whatever, stuff like that. Things, those were the fun things growing up. But I recently discovered a Netflix documentary, a series called Insert Coin, which basically details the history of video games and the innovations and the stories and how things went up and down over the years between the different generations of video game consoles and everything else. And the second episode especially talks about the Nintendo Entertainment System years. And I didn't know this, and this directly relates to what we do these days on the channel, is that there was something called a game counselor. And and think about this, you're 18, 19 years old, and you're just out of high school, and you don't know what you want to do with your life, and you don't have a job, and you live in the Seattle area. Nintendo's I believe their headquarters in America, North American headquarters, were in Seattle, the Seattle area. This was before, the grunge days. This was before Seattle became what it was in the early 90s. Silicon Valley in the south, but then you had like this northwest region kind of happening, Pacific Northwest. But North American headquarters of Nintendo, they had things called game counselors. And what that was is that you went to their office and said, I would like an application to be a game counselor. And you took a test. And that tested you on what you knew about Nintendo games. Like, where do you find the bombs in Zelda? How do you get the screw attack in Metroid and all that other stuff? Like, to know the cheat codes and all that other stuff. Because what you effectively were going to be doing is that you were going to be sitting in a cube with a console in front of you with a bunch of games, and then you would just sit with a headset on, and kids or adults would call in to talk to you about the game that they're having trouble on. Hi, I'm playing Contra, and I can't get past the mothership thing, whatever, at the end. All right, what did you do? The Konami code at the beginning? No, I didn't. Okay, let's do that. All right. Hey, I'm playing Legacy of the Wizard, which they actually came up. And Legacy of the Wizard, that's what really struck me about this was, I wish I would have known. I could have called them, because I went down to the local video store when I was like in 11 or 12, and I rented Legacy of the Wizard, and my God, it was the most awful game ever. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I mean, what everybody did. There was even the family pet could, fight and do stuff, and I had just no clue what was happening. And it was just like 100 screens and no clear definition of what you needed to do to make it stop and beat the game. But you could call the counselors, and they could walk you through the issues. How to beat Mike Tyson, how to level up your character. In fact, Xanadu, all this stuff. And you got paid for it. Like the one guy who was in the video, I did some online looking up of his life and everything, and he had another article about working for Nintendo at those days, and I think he made $5.50 an hour. In 1993, and I graduated high school. In 1994, I worked at a local amusement park. I made $4.25 an hour, $4.30 an hour. I worked sometimes more than 40 hours a week. And I don't know about maybe the cost of living in Seattle versus the cost of living in Southwest Pennsylvania, but making $5.50 an hour at that age, at 18, and 5 years before this, in the 80s, not in the 90s, in the 80s, that seems like a hell of a cool job, and to be paid to play video games. It's kind of like what I was trying to do now with the channel, being paid through, YouTube ad revenue and patrons and all that stuff to play video games. Which might be why I'm not doing that well at it, because maybe I'm not that great. But I'm the kind of guy that has worked in a customer service center and worked at a service desk and worked everywhere else, where I kind of had to be aware of all the things that you needed to know. Now, granted, I may not be able to go and play on these world tour things where you beat Tetris and get a high score, but man, I could tell you exactly, probably just based off of research and everything, on how to beat Tetris, and give you all that information and have that photographic memory and do all that. And I think that's where I kind of missed out. And I want to keep watching the series because it's really, really great. And I think you should check it out too if you have it, just to see what I grew up with, over the years. And how amazing it was that the video game industry, the early generations, the Atari industry was killed by a 5-week rush job on trying to get a port out for E.T. that just basically crashed the entire system because it was so bad, but that Steven Spielberg signed off on, so it's partially his fault. But he wanted a Pac-Man clone. And that's, like I said, the little tidbits you learn about games is amazing, just amazing. And how how people, they didn't have the YouTube, they didn't have game FAQs, they didn't have the books, but they had this phone number that they could call and get tips on how to play video games. So that's pretty damn cool. And that's all we're going to do for tonight. Hopefully I've got everything done that I want to do and show you the vault as it is now. And I don't know what we're going to do next time, but we're probably going to do more of letting people in and just start putting this Phase 3 into Phase 3 approach into effect. So we'll see you next time. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.